All right, hello Algebra 1. Today we're going to look at 8.1 Part B. We're still looking at properties of radicals, but today we get to look at variables that are in radicals, which is pretty wild. So we're going to be simplifying radicals. We're going to be using the product property technically today, but it won't be as obvious. So if you recall from before, when we took a square root, so a square root, there's a hidden 2 here, but we normally don't pay attention to it. I just want to point that out because later you'll be doing like cube roots and 5th roots and 7th roots and all that good stuff. But we're doing a square root today. Well, how I told you to try these out was to do a factor tree, and that's what we're going to do today with variables. It's kind of interesting. Once we're done, I'll show you kind of a shortcut you can use, but you can definitely just do a factor tree. So I hope you recognize 49 as a perfect square. If you don't, you'll find out, well, the only thing that divides into 49 is 7, and 7 times 7 gets you 49, and then you're going to clearly see that you have a pair. So 7 times 7 is a perfect square. So we know a 7 is going to come out. But then for that x to the third, it's kind of weird. Like what exactly is going on there? Well, I want you to think of x as just any number, and I want you to think about the meaning of an exponent. An exponent is repeated multiplication. So it turns out the factors of x to the third are x, another x, and another x. And you can do just like what we did yesterday and circle your pairs. Your pairs of factors are perfect squares. So not only is a 7 coming out, but there's also an x coming out. And then what's left over is this x. It's left over because we weren't able to evaluate the square root of it, so we still have to leave it under the radical sign. It's also called your radicand. And class, that's how it's done. That's how you simplify roots, square roots with variables. If you move on to the next one, we've got 20. Well, 20 breaks down into 4 and 5. 4 is a perfect square, but I'll go ahead and break it down. So far we've got a 2 coming out. Well, let's just do like we did before. W to the 6th power is W, 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 W. That's 4, 5, 6. All those W's multiplying together, and you're going to circle pairs of them. So you're going to have a W coming out for that. Another W coming out, and another W coming out. And then notice, class, what was left over that we didn't evaluate the square root of? It's 5. Now let's clean up this answer. I don't like it looking like this. W times W times W is W to the third. What do you guys think? All right, so there is a pattern that you could maybe look at here. Okay, I'll tell you the pattern later, but there is a pattern you might be able to use. Okay, for C, we've got this 2 out front. Well, class, please keep in mind that 2 is just going to hang out, and we're going to multiply whatever comes out with 2. But we got to find out what's coming out first. So 40. Gosh, what could we do? I mean, I guess we could do 2 and 20. From there, 20, we could do 2 and 10. From there, we could do 2 and 5. I noticed that I got a pair of 2s. So a 2 is going to join this 2. But that's it. So it turns out we're going to have 2 times 5, which is 10, left over. But we also have these x's. X times x times x. I can see I got a pair of x's. We also have these y's. Y times y times y times y times y, 5 times. And I can see there that I've got 2 pairs of y's. So we got our 2 from on the outside, this 2 coming out. We're also going to have an x coming out and 2 y's coming out. And what's left over is the 2 and the 5 combining to make 10, and an x and a y left over. So quite a bit of stuff going on there. Now let's simplify this so that it looks a little more professional. The 2 that came out multiplies with this 2 to make 4. X, the y times y combines to make y squared. And this is our simplified form. Why is it simplified? Well, there's no more perfect squares in here to take out. And that's why it's simplified. So class, there is a bit of a shortcut you can use. And you know what? I take it back. I'm not going to tell you the shortcut. I don't want to confuse anybody. But I do want you to notice when it was 6, it ended up being w to the 3rd that came out. That might kind of show you a relationship here. Also, if you look at my key, you may notice I do some of the problems a little bit different than, I may not show all this work. So I do use a pattern, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, practice this. Have a good day.